Thank you. Good morning. I want to also try to summarize in 10 minutes about 2 years worth of work, and what I'm going to be focusing on is really, as you heard, the implementation as opposed to the planning in terms of the corridors. What I'm going to be talking about is something we've been working on, as I say, for the last 2 years, a 137-page document called Connecting the West Corridor Communities, an implementation strategy for TOD along the corridor. It's a unique interagency partnership, City and County of Denver, City of Lakewood, very importantly the Denver Housing Authorities and the Lakewood Housing Authority called Metro West, the General Services Administration, which controls the Denver Federal Center, RTD, and the Denver Regional Council of Governments. This is our vision statement. I think I'm a pretty good vision guy. I'm not much for wordsmithing vision statements, but it's a collection of dynamic transit-centered communities with a range of housing choices, easy access to jobs, recreation, educational opportunities, served by diverse transportation modes with neighborhood-scale retail and services, will support active, healthy, and sustainable lifestyles. Now, as I start to go through this, I want you to kind of conceptualize the West Corridor versus all of the other corridors of FasTracks in the existing light rail system. West Corridor is, of course, light rail, as opposed to many of the other corridors, the proposed corridors that will be the commuter rail, or in one case, heavy rail. 225 will be light rail. The extensions, southwest and southeast, will also be light rail. Each of those, however, runs along major highways, major freeways. The West Corridor alone, in its path out of downtown Denver through Lakewood and out to the Federal Center, runs through a neighborhood, and in some cases it's only a 70-foot right-of-way. What this creates is a sense of intimacy that is unlike any other corridor, and it also creates kind of streetcar-like opportunities. We think it creates unique and more immediate opportunities because of this very intimate nature of the corridor. So, having planted the word intimacy in your mind, let's proceed. The reason we got together, each entity very appropriately, I think, did their station area plans once we all knew the West Corridor was going to be the first one out. Transit mixed-use zoning was put in place, densities were increased, entitlements were there. But what happened when we put all those together, as you heard Catherine say, we actually, by the time we totaled all that up, we had 3 million square feet of, 3 to 5 million square feet of retail, 11 to 15 million square feet of office. What do you think about the capacity for that buzz in the market these days? And up to 29,000 rent or housing units. So we realized that the market wasn't going to support that, and to do this properly, we needed to take a holistic approach. And as you saw in that last slide, the housing authorities actually controlled up to 9 or 10 parcels along the corridor, so they were a very, very important partner in this process. So what have we done over the last nearly 24 months? We have gone out and researched. We know everything about this corridor. You can call it a market study, but we certainly know our strengths, we know our weaknesses, and I think we understand the corridor very well. This shows some of the major destinations along the corridor, and I think the point this drives home is this is a destination corridor. It's not just going from the bedroom community of Lakewood or Golden to downtown Denver. It indeed connects the Denver Federal Center and now St. Anthony Hospital, 8,000 employees right there. Red Rocks Community College, 14,000 students. Jeffco Government Center. This is a two-way transit corridor. It's not just all about getting into downtown to go to work and then coming back home. We know the median household incomes in all of the station areas. We know what we call employment intensity. You can see that large kind of orange dot. That's the Federal Center in St. Anthony. We know, again, where people work and how many people work in each location. We know the commuting patterns. Once again, people don't just go back and forth to Denver to work. They go all over the place. We know where they're coming from and where they're going to. We know the 34 proposed and existing and proposed housing projects that are associated with the West Corridor. We know the parcel sizes, and if you can imagine some of those areas of old North Lakewood, there are some very small parcels and very fragmented parcel ownership. We need to know that because it can certainly present some obstacles to development. We also have some much larger parcels, but again, for the market, we have all this information. We also know the utilization of the parcels, which are utilized appropriately and which are not. And this is defined by, I think it's a term that's up to, well, you can see it on the slide there, less than 0.95 improvement to land value ratio is how we define underutilized. We know at each station area plan the housing and transportation costs as it relates to the regional median income of the residents along the corridor. We know the existing transit connections, highway, transit, and bus. We know how people, and this is going to help us down the road as we look at the very important issue of connecting some of these employment centers that are not right on the line to the station. We know we're going to need to add shuttle service from RTD. And that brings up the point that, you know, some people think a light rail line diminishes bus service, and certainly the 16 bus that goes along Colfax will have a few less runs, but also increases the need for the shuttle connectivity. So in the end, in terms of RTD supplying bus service, it actually all kind of evens out. We know the bicycle connections, existing bicycle connections and proposed bicycle connections along the West Corridor. We know all of the existing community resources in terms of educational resources, grocery stores, hospitals, health service, religious institutions, community and recreation centers, parks, golf courses, all that sort of thing. We know where grocery stores are, and we know where grocery stores aren't. We're all familiar with the concept of food deserts, that large green area. The two large green areas are the so-called food deserts as a result of that study. Very interesting right now to a couple of well-known grocery chains in the metro area, by the way. We know where the entertainment facilities are, the parks, the athletic fields, as well as proposed sites of future facilities. These are things that are all very important to the market. And to kind of turn this all in reverse, we know where the gaps are in each of these community resources. And we know, thus, I think Catherine used the term of strategic community investments. We now understand much better where we collectively need to make those investments. Speaking of investments, infrastructure. You know, one of the things we've learned along the way is that, again, in this old area, there's old infrastructure, and that's an impediment to development. So we understand what we have, and we understand what we need to do in terms of non-sexy things like drainage along the corridor, drainage and environmental remediation. So beginning to close out here, we have, as Catherine mentioned earlier, kind of defined an existing station area typology, residential, balanced, and employment, and each of those criteria has an intensity from low to high. We understand much better now where we want to go in terms of implementation and what each of those station areas needs to be worked towards. Transformational, intensification, and many of them are going to be nothing more, as they should be, than neighborhood infill. We have a list of key recommendations. I'm not going to go through each one of those, but this is really the outcome of the report. We view ourselves on the West Corridor Working Group as sort of the master facilitator for development along the corridor. We understand the need to develop this holistically. We understood, as we each developed our individual station area plans, that not every station is going to be the affordable housing project, the Starbucks, and the dry cleaners. You know, we need to create a sense of place in each station, and we need to create a sense of differentiation in each of those light rail stations, and we are going to continue to work together to make sure that gets done. Let me just close once again with that concept of intimacy. Because of that concept, we truly believe that the most immediate catalyst to the corridor centers around housing, and thus the very important partnership with the respective housing authorities. What we need to provide for future businesses are simply customers, right? We need heads in the bed near these stations, and that's why these 34 existing and proposed housing projects are so crucial to the catalytic effect of the West Corridor. Thank you.